The night was supposed to be quiet, uneventful, just another evening in the neighborhood. But what unfolded next left fans and friends absolutely stunned. Around 8:15 p.m., sources report that Kirk was spotted casually entering Jasmine's apartment building, a move that immediately set social media ablaze. Whispers began circulating. Why was he there? What was really going on between him and Jasmine? Rumors were inevitable, but the timing of his visit would spark a chain reaction no one could have predicted. Just 10 minutes later, Rasheeda pulled up outside, her eyes scanning the building like a hawk. Witnesses say the tension was palpable, and it wasn't long before neighbors started noticing the raised voices, the hurried footsteps, the unmistakable energy of a confrontation about to erupt. Fans are shocked, debating furiously online about what prompted this sudden visit. Emotions ran high as speculation grew, some insisting it was a private matter blown out of proportion, while others swore it was the start of a full-blown reality TV-style showdown. The family was left divided, friends whispered in private, and the drama seemed poised to spiral into something unforgettable. What happened behind those doors? Did old grievances resurface? Was this the moment that shattered alliances, or was it a misinterpreted coincidence? Tonight, we dive into the story that everyone is talking about, peeling back the layers of secrecy, betrayal, and unexpected twists that only reality can produce. The evening had barely settled when Kirk's figure was first spotted slipping through the entrance of Jasmine's apartment building. The streetlights cast long shadows, making the scene look almost cinematic, as if reality itself had been paused for dramatic effect. Neighbors whispered behind curtains, their curiosity piqued by the sudden flurry of activity. Kirk's expression was unreadable, a calm exterior masking the storm of emotions brewing inside. Sources close to the situation say he had been pacing earlier in his car, checking his phone repeatedly, before finally making the decision to walk into Jasmine's apartment. His steps were deliberate, measured, as though he knew exactly how each movement would be interpreted by anyone watching. Inside, Jasmine sensed the moment before it happened. A knock, soft but firm, reverberated against the door. She hesitated, glancing at the clock, and then at her phone, which buzzed relentlessly with notifications. The anticipation was electric. When she opened the door, Kirk's presence seemed larger than life, as if the room itself had contracted around him. "We need to talk," he said, voice steady but carrying a weight that made her heart race unexpectedly. The words were simple, but the tension behind them was palpable. Jasmine tried to maintain composure, a forced smile playing on her lips, masking the uncertainty bubbling beneath. "About what?" she asked cautiously, her eyes darting around the apartment, hoping for any sign that she might understand the reason for this unannounced visit. Kirk's gaze didn't waver. He seemed determined, purposeful, and unshaken by the silent scrutiny of the empty apartment. Outside, the world waited, and it was only a matter of minutes before Rasheeda arrived, her car pulling up with a screech that startled a few late-night pedestrians. She stepped out, heels clicking sharply against the pavement, her eyes narrowing as she took in the scene. She could see Kirk entering, the tension radiating like heat from a flame. Emotions ran high instantly, the air thick with unsaid words, and a storm was about to break. Inside, the conversation between Kirk and Jasmine escalated quickly. What started as a calm, reasoned discussion soon spiraled into accusations, misunderstandings, and emotional outbursts. "You can't just show up uninvited and expect everything to be fine," Jasmine exclaimed, her voice trembling but firm. Kirk's response was measured, almost cold. "I didn't come here for permission, I came here for answers." The words hung in the air, heavy, demanding attention. Neighbors claimed they heard a heated exchange, snippets of phrases that hinted at betrayal, old grudges, and personal secrets being unveiled. The drama wasn't just between two people, it had the potential to ripple through the lives of everyone connected. Friends, family, and even fans who had been watching their story unfold online for months. 10 minutes later, Rasheeda's arrival changed the entire dynamic. She knocked firmly on the door, her presence like a sudden gust of wind, unsettling everything inside. Kirk and Jasmine froze, their conversation interrupted by the unmistakable energy of someone who demanded accountability. "What's going on here?" Rasheeda's voice cut sharply, full of suspicion and barely contained anger. Kirk turned slowly, his expression unreadable, but Jasmine could feel the tension tighten in the room. The three of them stood in a charged silence, each measuring the other's reactions, calculating the next move in a silent battle of wills. Outside, bystanders whispered, phones out, capturing glimpses of a scene that seemed ripped from a reality show script. Fans online were already speculating wildly. Rasheeda finally found out. One comment read, Kirk is in deep trouble, said another. The family was left divided, each member trying to interpret events from afar. Some reaching out to offer support, others condemning actions without full knowledge. Inside, the conversation became increasingly personal. Kirk revealed grievances, long buried, past conflicts with Rasheeda and Jasmine resurfacing in the heat of the moment. "You don't understand what I've been going through," he said, voice tight with emotion. Jasmine responded sharply, her eyes flashing. "Maybe if you had communicated instead of hiding, none of this would be happening." Rasheeda, refusing to be sidelined, stepped closer, her tone icy. "I am here to make sure no one plays games. Enough with the secrets." The room seemed to vibrate with raw emotion, each word striking like a hammer, exposing vulnerabilities and forcing truths into the open. Accusations flew back and forth, stories of betrayals, broken promises, and misunderstandings layering upon one another, each revelation more shocking than the last. Fans were hooked, social media exploding with speculation and commentary. The drama perfectly timed to capture the attention of anyone who had followed their intertwined lives. As the night deepened, unexpected twists unfolded. Kirk admitted to actions that stunned both women, revelations that no one had anticipated, while Jasmine's reactions were a mixture of disbelief, hurt, and a guarded anger. Rasheeda's presence acted as both a shield and a catalyst, her demands for transparency forcing every secret, no matter how painful, into the harsh light. Arguments escalated, then paused, then escalated again, each beat keeping tension at its peak. Dialogues interwove with moments of silence, pauses where the weight of past grievances pressed heavily on the room. Emotions were unfiltered, raw, and unrelenting. The neighbors' curiosity turned to fascination, as snippets of conversations drifted beyond the apartment walls. Phrases like "I trusted you" and "How could you" became the soundtrack of the night. Online, fans dissected every possible implication, debating motives, alliances, and the potential fallout. This was no ordinary encounter. What began as a seemingly casual visit had transformed into a dramatic revelation of personal stakes. Relationships strained to the breaking point, and secrets finally exposed. Just as Kirk began to explain a series of decisions that had fueled misunderstandings for months, Rasheeda's phone buzzed insistently. She glanced at it, her expression shifting from guarded anger to surprise, and then a calculated calm. The three of them realized the evening was far from over, the unfolding drama destined to affect more than just those in the apartment. While emotions ran high, there were subtle movements, glances exchanged, silent negotiations playing out that hinted at possible reconciliations or further confrontations. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife, every breath a reminder that one misstep could escalate into chaos. By midnight, the scenario had become a complex web of accusations, confessions, and shocking admissions. Kirk's motivations were questioned, Jasmine's reactions scrutinized, and Rasheeda's judgments weighed heavily on the outcome. Each character's personal stakes were laid bare, their vulnerabilities exposed in ways that left no room for pretense. The drama had a magnetic pull, drawing in everyone who encountered it, from casual neighbors to loyal fans following every post and comment. Social media platforms were alight with speculation, theories, and side commentary, creating a virtual audience that seemed as invested as the people inside the apartment. What unfolded was a masterclass in reality TV-style tension, strategic pauses, calculated revelations, emotional confrontations, and the unrelenting pressure of scrutiny. Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda navigated this pressure differently, their individual personalities and histories shaping their approach, creating layers of complexity that kept observers riveted. As the night wore on, alliances shifted, temporary truces formed, and underlying tensions hinted at future clashes. It was clear that this single evening, a mere 10 minutes separating Kirk's entry and Rasheeda's arrival, had ignited a chain reaction of events that would resonate far beyond the confines of the apartment. Every word, every gesture, every glance became fuel for speculation, each moment amplified by the awareness that the world was watching, waiting for the next dramatic turn. The night, still young, had already proven unforgettable, and the story unfolding inside Jasmine's apartment promised more twists, deeper, of complexity that kept observers riveted. As the night wore on, alliances shifted, temporary truces formed, and underlying tensions hinted at future clashes. It was clear that this single evening, a mere 10 minutes separating Kirk's entry and Rasheeda's arrival, had ignited a chain reaction of events that would resonate far beyond the confines of the apartment. Every word, every gesture, every glance became fuel for speculation, each moment amplified by the awareness that the world was watching, waiting for the next dramatic turn. The night, still young, had already proven unforgettable, and the story unfolding inside Jasmine's apartment promised more twists, deeper revelations, and a spectacle of human emotion that would be dissected and discussed for weeks to come. The room felt smaller now, the air heavier with unspoken tension, as Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda continued their verbal sparring. Every glance carried weight, every movement seemed amplified, and the emotions of the past months erupted with startling intensity. Kirk leaned against the wall, arms crossed, eyes flicking between the two women, trying to maintain some semblance of control while simultaneously allowing the truth to spill out. "You don't get it?" he said, voice tight with frustration. "This isn't about games or drama, it's about respect, about the choices that were made when no one else was looking." Jasmine shook her head, stepping back, incredulous. "Respect? After everything you've done? After all the lies?" she demanded, her voice cracking slightly, betraying the hurt she had been holding in. Rasheeda's posture was rigid, hands planted firmly on her hips. "Enough," she said, tone sharp. "We're not going to solve this by yelling, but we will solve it by facing the truth." Outside, the occasional sound of passing cars contrasted sharply with the storm brewing inside. The ordinary night, now a backdrop to extraordinary drama. Kirk took a deep breath, his next words deliberate. "There are things you both need to understand, things that explain why I acted the way I did. It's not excuses, it's context." Jasmine's expression softened for just a moment, a flicker of curiosity fighting against her anger. "Then start talking," she said, arms crossed, waiting. Rasheeda, never one to miss a beat, added, "And don't hold anything back. Whatever you say, better be the truth, Kirk." The ensuing conversation revealed layers of personal conflict that few could have anticipated. Kirk recounted incidents from the past months, decisions made under pressure, and moments of miscommunication that had snowballed into resentment. The dialogue was intense, punctuated by pauses where silence seemed to speak louder than words. "You think I wanted this," Kirk said, voice strained. "You think I enjoyed hiding things or watching it all fall apart?" Jasmine shook her head slowly, absorbing his words, while Rasheeda's sharp gaze remained fixed, reading every micro-expression, every subtle shift of emotion. As the revelations continued, unexpected twists emerged. Kirk disclosed a private conversation with a mutual friend that neither woman had known about, a message that painted previous events in an entirely new light. The implications were explosive, forcing Jasmine and Rasheeda to reconsider their assumptions. "Wait, you're telling me this entire time I've been misunderstanding everything?" Jasmine asked, disbelief mingling with dawning realization. Rasheeda remained skeptical. "We'll see if that's really the whole story," she said, crossing her arms. Emotions escalated, oscillating between anger, shock, and moments of tentative understanding. Accusations that had seemed straightforward now carried new layers. Secrets previously hidden surfaced, and the dynamics of trust, loyalty, and betrayal were tested like never before. Outside, the story had leaked to social media almost immediately. Fans were analyzing every second, every gesture, every word that might hint at the true nature of the conflict. "This is unreal," one comment read. "I can't believe Kirk just admitted that." Another said, "Rasheeda's reaction is everything." The unfolding drama had captured attention worldwide, a perfect storm of personal stakes, emotional volatility, and unexpected revelations. Inside, Kirk's explanations led to a temporary lull, a fragile truce where the air was tense but conversation flowed with slightly more calm. Jasmine leaned back against the couch, absorbing every word, while Rasheeda remained vigilant, unwilling to give in to the fleeting peace. It was clear, however, that the night was far from over. Just as Kirk thought he had conveyed his point, a knock at the door shattered the tentative calm. A neighbor, apparently concerned by the noise, had come to check in, adding an unexpected layer of awkwardness to the already charged atmosphere. The interruption forced the three to pause, to reset and to consider the public perception now mingling with their private confrontation. Whispers outside the apartment hinted at the magnitude of what was happening inside. The encounter had escalated beyond the three individuals, pulling in the community and fans alike, turning a personal dispute into a spectacle with real stakes. Once the neighbor left, the conversation resumed with renewed intensity. Kirk revealed another twist, a private text from an unknown source that seemed to confirm suspicions, further complicating the narrative. "This changes everything," Rasheeda muttered under her breath, her tone a mix of shock and calculation. Jasmine's hands flew to her face, her mind racing as she processed the information. "I can't believe this," she whispered. How could this happen without me knowing? The night unfolded like a carefully scripted drama, with tension peaks and emotional troughs, moments of revelation followed by strategic pauses, all contributing to a story that felt larger than life. Each character's personal stakes were highlighted, the potential consequences looming ominously over their interactions. Accusations were met with defenses, past grievances revisited, and subtle alliances hinted at, creating a narrative that was as intricate as it was sensational. Fans online dissected every nuance, speculating about future developments and possible resolutions. The emotional rollercoaster inside the apartment was mirrored in the digital world, where every comment, share, and reaction added fuel to the fire. As the clock inched toward the early hours, the confrontation reached a peak. Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda found themselves standing on the precipice of either reconciliation or complete emotional collapse. Kirk's revelations had altered the playing field. Jasmine's responses had shifted perceptions, and Rasheeda's judgment loomed as both arbiter and participant. The tension was unbearable, the anticipation almost tangible. The scene was set for dramatic conclusions, with multiple outcomes possible, each more explosive than the last. Every exchange carried weight. Every decision would influence not only their relationships but the perception of everyone watching. The night's events were a study in human emotion, a high-stakes interplay of truth, deception, loyalty, and vulnerability. The drama was unscripted, yet perfectly theatrical, the kind of tension that keeps viewers glued, unable to look away. Each character's motivations were laid bare, each reaction analyzed, each word a potential pivot in the ongoing narrative. The story was no longer just about Kirk entering Jasmine's apartment. It had evolved into a complex saga of emotional revelations, power dynamics, and human vulnerability, captivating everyone who encountered it. The night stretched on, the conversations weaving a web of intrigue, suspense, and intense emotional engagement. The fallout of this confrontation promised to ripple through the lives of those involved. The family, friends, and fans all caught in the gravitational pull of an unfolding reality drama. The tension inside the apartment seemed to thicken with every passing minute. Kirk's attempts at explanation had uncovered more than just misunderstandings. They revealed hidden layers of loyalty, deception, and unresolved resentment. Jasmine, still reeling from the magnitude of Kirk's confessions, paced the small living room, her voice rising and falling like waves crashing against a cliff. "I can't believe you kept all this from me," she said, frustration and hurt mingling in her tone. Kirk's response was steady, almost rehearsed, yet his eyes betrayed a mixture of guilt and defiance. "I didn't keep it from you to hurt you, Jasmine. Everything I did was to protect everyone involved, even if it seems the opposite." Rasheeda, ever the vigilant observer, narrowed her eyes, sensing the subtle manipulations at play. "Protecting Kirk, this entire night proves that your idea of protection is just chaos disguised as concern," she snapped, her voice slicing through the room like a knife. The interplay of words was relentless. The trio moved from one emotional high to another, accusations thrown like daggers, explanations offered as shields. The past, present, and potential future collided in a storm of raw emotion. Kirk disclosed more unexpected details, some involving mutual friends who had unwittingly contributed to the tension, sending Jasmine into waves of disbelief. "So you're telling me that everything I thought I knew, all of it, might have been twisted behind my back?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper, eyes wide with shock. Rasheeda's lips tightened in a thin line, her judgment evident. "It's exactly what I've been trying to warn you about," she said, tone measured but firm. The night was a delicate dance of confessions, denials, and counterpoints. Outside, the world watched through the lens of social media, fans dissecting every moment. "This is insane," one post read, accompanied by screenshots of speculative commentary. Another said, "Rasheeda is the ultimate boss in this drama. Kirk has no chance now." Inside the apartment, the energy was almost tangible. Kirk's admissions continued, each revelation raising the stakes. The past mistakes of both men and women, the unspoken resentments, and the quiet betrayals all came to the surface. Jasmine's anger flared intermittently, tempered by moments of introspection. "I don't even know what to feel anymore," she admitted, running a hand through her hair, eyes darting between Kirk and Rasheeda. Rasheeda's patience was wearing thin, her commanding presence filling the room. "Feel whatever you need to feel, Jasmine, but don't think we can ignore the truth any longer. The time for excuses is over," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. Kirk, attempting to regain control of the conversation, stepped closer. "I'm not here to fight. I'm here to make things right, to finally clear the air," he said, voice firm, yet earnest. The dynamics were shifting, the confrontation moving from a heated battle to a tense negotiation. Each participant weighed their words carefully, recognizing the power of the night's revelations. Outside, neighbors continued to speculate, a small crowd gathering discreetly, phones in hand, capturing fleeting moments that would inevitably fuel online debates. The drama had transcended the walls of Jasmine's apartment, extending into the digital sphere where fans dissected every gesture, every inflection. The interplay of personal and public scrutiny added a layer of complexity, forcing the trio to navigate not only their emotions but also the perception of the world beyond. Kirk revealed an unexpected twist, a conversation that had occurred weeks prior, one that had been kept secret due to fear of backlash. The details were explosive, implicating not just himself but also individuals previously considered allies. Jasmine's reaction was a mixture of shock and indignation. "So everything I thought I could trust, it was all manipulated," she demanded, voice rising in disbelief. Rasheeda's gaze softened slightly, recognizing the impact of the revelation. "Manipulated or misunderstood. The truth is out now, and now we decide how to move forward," she said, her tone a mix of authority and concern. The conversation shifted again, this time focusing on intentions and consequences. Kirk defended his actions, explaining motives that had been misunderstood, attempting to bridge gaps with clarity and vulnerability. Jasmine listened, torn between skepticism and the desire to believe. Rasheeda monitored every reaction, her strategic presence guiding the unfolding drama, ensuring that each revelation was met with accountability. As hours passed, the confrontation took on the intensity of a high-stakes reality show. Moments of vulnerability alternated with sharp confrontations, silence punctuated by emotionally charged declarations. Every participant had to navigate not only their feelings but also the expectations and judgments of those watching from afar. The night was far from linear. Twists emerged unpredictably, old grievances resurfaced, and new insights challenged prior assumptions. Kirk's repeated admissions, combined with Rasheeda's unwavering scrutiny and Jasmine's fluctuating reactions, created a complex tapestry of human emotion. Fans online were enthralled, social media flooded with theories, memes, and heated discussions. The narrative was no longer contained within the apartment. It had become a public spectacle, a drama unfolding in real time, consuming attention and sparking debate. Inside, the trio continued their verbal battle, now tempered with moments of reflection. Kirk sought understanding, Jasmine demanded clarity, and Rasheeda ensured accountability. The tension ebbed and flowed, each revelation more potent than the last. As the early morning hours approached, the energy shifted slightly. Exhaustion mingled with lingering anger, yet the gravity of the night's events remained undeniable. Kirk's final admissions for the evening laid the groundwork for potential reconciliation, while Jasmine's tentative responses suggested a cautious openness to dialogue. Rasheeda remained the stabilizing force, balancing emotional intensity with strategic oversight. The night had transformed from a simple confrontation into an intricate exploration of trust, loyalty, and personal accountability. Every word, glance, and gesture contributed to a narrative of high emotional stakes, unpredictable outcomes, and raw human drama. By the time dawn began to creep over the horizon, the trio had reached a fragile understanding. The confrontation had exposed raw truths, tested loyalties, and left indelible marks on everyone involved. The story, though far from complete, had captivated audiences, both in person and online, setting the stage for future developments, reactions, and continued speculation. The apartment, once a simple dwelling, had become a stage for a reality drama spectacle, one that would resonate in conversations, posts, and discussions for days, weeks, and perhaps even months to come. Every participant had been changed, every relationship tested, and the night's events promised ongoing ripple effects that would ensure the drama remained a topic of fascination long after the initial confrontation ended. The fragile calm that had settled over the apartment was short. Just as Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda thought they had navigated the worst of the evening, a new layer of tension erupted, catching everyone off guard. Kirk, still recovering from the previous emotional onslaught, shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting toward the phone lying on the coffee table. It had been buzzing incessantly, notifications piling up from friends, family, and even fans who somehow knew something was happening. He hesitated, then picked it up, revealing a message that made all three pause. The contents were explosive, a piece of information that no one had expected and one that threatened to upend the tentative understanding they had just reached. Jasmine leaned in, curiosity mixed with apprehension. "What is it?" she asked, her voice cautious, sensing the gravity of the moment. Kirk's lips pressed together as he read, eyes narrowing. "This changes everything," he muttered, almost to himself, before looking up at both women. Rasheeda's sharp gaze fixed on him immediately. "Spit it out, Kirk. What are you hiding now?" Her tone was demanding, leaving no room for hesitation or excuses. The revelation was a bombshell. A mutual acquaintance, long considered trustworthy, had been feeding misleading information, fueling misunderstandings, and escalating tensions behind the scenes. The implications were staggering. Jasmine's face paled, shock giving way to disbelief. "So everything I believed, all the arguments we've had, it was manipulated," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. Kirk nodded slowly, frustration and guilt mingling in his expression. "Yes, and I only just found out myself. I came here to clarify, to finally set things straight," he said, voice heavy with sincerity. Rasheeda's reaction was a mixture of incredulity and calculated judgment. "So all this time, the chaos wasn't even directly caused by you two?" she asked, her tone sharp, eyes narrowing as she processed the information. The room seemed to hold its breath. The revelation reframed every argument, every accusation, and every misunderstanding that had unfolded throughout the night. Tensions remained high, but a new dynamic emerged. A shared enemy, or at least a common source of deception, had been identified, temporarily aligning Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda against an external force. The dialogue took on a new rhythm, moving from confrontation to strategic discussion. Kirk recounted the sequence of events that had led to the misunderstanding, providing timestamps, messages, and eyewitness accounts. Jasmine's anger softened slightly, replaced by a mixture of frustration and relief. "I can't believe we let this fester for so long," she said, running a hand through her hair, voice shaking with lingering emotion. Rasheeda, though still firm, allowed a subtle nod, acknowledging that the revelation necessitated a reassessment of previous judgments. "We need to be smarter now," she said. "If we're going to move forward, we have to deal with the real issues, not the distractions." Outside, the neighborhood buzzed with speculation. Neighbors claimed to hear snippets of conversation, their imaginations running wild. Social media had already exploded, fans speculating about the unseen hand that had caused the chaos. "This is insane," one post read. "Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda are literally in the middle of a real-life thriller." Another said, "Wait until the truth comes out fully, this is bigger than we thought." The internal dynamics of the apartment shifted once more as the trio began strategizing. Kirk, eager to take responsibility and rebuild trust, proposed a series of steps to clarify the situation, both privately and publicly. Jasmine, cautious but intrigued, considered the implications, weighing the emotional toll against the potential for resolution. Rasheeda, ever the arbiter, outlined boundaries, expectations, and conditions for continued dialogue. The evening was no longer just about past grievances, had evolved into a complex negotiation, balancing accountability, transparency, and emotional survival. Each revelation reshaped their interactions, forcing reassessment of loyalties and priorities. The night progressed, with Kirk offering candid admissions and clarifications that peeled back layers of misunderstanding, while Jasmine wrestled with processing conflicting emotions. Rasheeda's presence ensured that no misstatement or deflection went unnoticed, her piercing questions demanding honesty and accountability at every turn. The conversation, while heated at times, also allowed moments of vulnerability. Kirk shared personal fears, regrets, and insecurities that had remained buried, exposing dimensions of himself previously unseen. Jasmine responded with guarded empathy, her voice softening intermittently as she acknowledged his humanity amidst the chaos. The trio navigated delicate terrain, balancing confrontation with compassion, skepticism with tentative trust. Outside, the unfolding events had captivated fans and onlookers alike. Social media commentary was relentless, a real-time reaction to the night's revelations. Theories were proposed, alliances speculated, and predictions debated with fervor. "This is like watching a live reality show," one fan wrote. "The tension, the secrets. I can't even." Another said, "Rasheeda is the only one keeping this from completely spiraling. She's a queen." Back inside, Kirk introduced another unexpected twist, evidence that suggested certain interactions had been misinterpreted due to incomplete context. This information complicated the narrative further, forcing Jasmine and Rasheeda to reevaluate not only Kirk's actions but also their own responses and judgments. The emotional stakes heightened. each participant acutely aware that the night's revelations could redefine relationships permanently. Conversations cycled between confrontation, clarification, and reflection. The room alive with energy that bordered on electric. Accusations from earlier hours were revisited with new insight. Defenses reconsidered, and emerging truths reshaped the trajectory of the evening. The complexity of human relationships, betrayal, loyalty, and misunderstanding was on full display. As the hours wore on, the trio's exhaustion became evident, yet the need for resolution pushed them forward. Moments of silence punctuated the dialogue, allowing the weight of revelations to settle. Kirk's earnest explanations, Jasmine's cautious receptivity, and Rasheeda's strategic oversight created a rhythm that, while tense, allowed for incremental progress toward understanding. The night's drama had transformed from a simple uninvited visit into a multi-layered saga, involving miscommunication, hidden agendas, and emotional vulnerability. Every word, glance, and gesture carried consequence, shaping perceptions both within the apartment and in the wider audience observing online. The unfolding story was a testament to the unpredictable nature of human interaction under stress, where truth, emotion, and perception intertwine to produce outcomes that are as compelling as they are volatile. Dawn was beginning to touch the horizon, casting a faint glow into the apartment, signaling the end of one chapter but hinting at continued turbulence. Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda, though weary, had navigated several storms of emotion, confrontation, and revelation, setting the stage for future interactions that promised even more drama, insight, and potentially explosive developments. The soft light of early morning barely illuminated the apartment, yet the atmosphere remained charged, as if the night itself had imprinted its tension onto the walls. Kirk, still standing near the window, stared outside, seemingly lost in thought, while Jasmine sank onto the couch, her mind replaying every word, every revelation from the hours before. Rasheeda remained upright, a sentinel in the room, her eyes scanning both of them, assessing moods, reactions, and potential vulnerabilities. The night had exposed secrets, laid bare raw emotions, and challenged assumptions that each had held for months, if not years. Kirk finally broke the silence. "I know this doesn't fix anything overnight," he said quietly, voice carrying both remorse and determination, "but we can't let this continue in the dark. Everyone deserves to know the truth." Jasmine nodded slowly, still processing. "The truth, it's overwhelming. I don't know where to start or how to react," she admitted, voice laced with fatigue and lingering disbelief. Rasheeda's tone was firm but measured, almost like a referee controlling a game. "Start with honesty," she said. "No half-truths, no omissions. We set it all on the table, or nothing changes." The dynamic shifted once again, from confrontation to a painstaking negotiation of emotional territory. Kirk recounted events from months prior that had been misinterpreted, revealing intentions and motives previously hidden. Jasmine's reactions vacillated between shock, understanding, and frustration. "So all this time, I've been reacting to shadows of misunderstanding?" she asked, incredulous. Kirk nodded, guilt evident in his posture. "Exactly. It's been a cascade, each miscommunication feeding the next. And I take responsibility for my part." Rasheeda, never one to let sentiment cloud judgment, interjected. "And the rest. The people influencing perceptions. The outside interference. We need clarity there too," she said, tone cutting through the room with surgical precision. Kirk reluctantly divulged details about outside forces, friends and acquaintances who had played subtle roles in escalating tensions. The complexity of the situation deepened, each revelation layering onto the previous, creating a tapestry of misjudgment, deception, and human foul. Jasmine's hands flew to her face intermittently, eyes wide, mind racing to reconcile the information. It's so much. How do we even process all of this?" she murmured, voice barely audible. Rasheeda's posture softened slightly, recognizing the weight of the disclosure. "We process it one step at a time, but we don't ignore it. The damage is real, the emotions are real, and so are the consequences," she said. The conversation, while painstaking, began to reveal small openings for tentative reconciliation. Kirk's transparency allowed Jasmine glimpses of understanding, while Rasheeda's guidance kept the dialogue grounded, preventing spirals of renewed anger. Outside, the neighborhood had started its morning routine, yet the echoes of the previous night's drama lingered. Social media had exploded, fans dissecting every moment, theorizing about motives, alliances, and potential fallout. "This is beyond reality TV," one fan wrote. "The layers of deception and emotion are insane." Another said, Rasheeda is literally controlling the narrative. Kirk and Jasmine have no chance without her. Inside, Kirk introduced another revelation, a series of messages that had been misinterpreted, which, once properly understood, painted prior confrontations in an entirely new light. Jasmine's eyes widened. So even the fights we thought were about us, they weren't? She asked, disbelief mixing with dawning clarity. Kirk nodded. Not entirely. There were misunderstandings layered on top of manipulations, and it spiraled. But now, we can finally address it. Rasheeda's expression softened slightly, though her tone remained firm. Address it we must. There's no more room for shadows or excuses. If we want any semblance of peace, we have to face it fully, she said. The room pulsed with emotion, a delicate balance between catharsis and exhaustion. Kirk's admissions, Jasmine's tentative understanding, and Rasheeda's strategic oversight created a rhythm of confrontation, reflection, and tentative resolution. The drama was no longer just personal, it had become a spectacle, watched and analyzed in real time by an audience hungry for insight, gossip, and speculation. Every nuance, every gesture, every inflection carried weight, both in the room and beyond its walls. As the conversation continued, unexpected emotional moments emerged. Kirk, vulnerable and unguarded, shared personal fears about losing trust, respect, and relationships he valued deeply. Jasmine, for her part, wrestled with conflicting emotions, torn between disbelief and a desire to forgive. Rasheeda guided the dialogue, her presence a stabilizing force, ensuring honesty while maintaining accountability. The hours progressed, with new insights, clarifications, and occasional confrontations punctuating the night. The drama, while intense, began to reveal a potential path forward, however tenuous. Outside, social media buzzed with ongoing speculation. Fans and observers debated minute details, dissecting behaviors, interpreting expressions, and theorizing about the eventual outcomes. Kirk just dropped major truth bombs. One comment read, "I can't believe Jasmine's reactions, she's handling it better than I expected." Another post said, "Rasheeda's the real MVP. She's keeping everything from turning into chaos." Inside, the trio worked through layers of past grievances, misunderstandings, and emotional baggage. Kirk's forthrightness allowed space for dialogue that had previously been impossible. Jasmine's emotional honesty created openings for tentative trust. Rasheeda's strategic questions and insistence on accountability prevented manipulation or deflection. The apartment, once a private space, had transformed into a stage for a high-stakes drama, a crucible of emotion, revelation, and interpersonal negotiation. By mid-morning, exhaustion mingled with a cautious optimism. The revelations, though difficult, had begun to create clarity. Temporary truces were formed, tentative agreements reached, and a fragile understanding emerged. Yet everyone knew the night's events had irrevocably altered relationships. The drama had been intense, the truths profound, and the consequences far-reaching. Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda had navigated not just personal revelations but also the pressures of external scrutiny, social media speculation, and the expectations of those invested in their story. The morning light illuminated the apartment differently than the night had, yet the shadows of the night's events lingered, a reminder that even in daylight, the consequences of emotional turbulence remained. The narrative, while momentarily calmer, promised more twists, revelations, and conflicts as the aftermath unfolded, both inside the apartment and in the wider world observing with rapt attention. The night's chaos has finally given way to a fragile calm, but the story isn't over. Far from it. Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda have confronted truths, exposed hidden agendas, and navigated a labyrinth of emotions that left fans shocked, hearts racing, and minds buzzing with speculation. The tension, the secrets, the accusations, everything has set the stage for what could be the most talked about fallout in recent reality drama history. We saw alliances tested, loyalties questioned, and vulnerabilities laid bare, leaving the family divided, yet strangely connected through the weight of shared experiences. But the burning question remains, where do they go from here? Will Kirk's confessions mend the fractures, or will new betrayals emerge from the shadows? Can Jasmine forgive while holding on to her dignity? And will Rasheeda's strategic presence continue to steer the storm, or will emotions finally tip the balance? The viewers, now more than ever, are part of the narrative, witnessing every glance, every word, every pause that could signal a reconciliation or ignite another explosive confrontation. So here's where you come and comment below with your thoughts. Who do you think is telling the full truth? Who will come out of this standing, and who might crumble under the weight of their choices? Smash that like button if you've been glued to every moment of this insane drama. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a single twist in Kirk, Jasmine, and Rasheeda's turbulent story. Stay tuned, because if this night has taught us anything, it's that in the world of high-stakes reality drama, the next shocker is always just around the corner. Your opinion matters, tell us what you think, and join the conversation as the saga continues.